Oh my fucking god, what's going on today, guys? Alright guys, today we're going to do something I haven't done in a balls-ass, long-ass time. That is do a game review. Haven't done one of those in like fucking ages. Why are we doing a game review? Because it is very important to remind ourselves that there are good video games out there. RuneScape is awesome in many ways, but at the same time, it is very shitty in many ways. So, therefore, we kind of have to remind ourselves that, wait a second, there are other video games out there besides RuneScape. Today, we'll be reviewing two games compared to each other. Woo! Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 1. Now, this is the remake of Resident Evil 1, mainly because my PlayStation Resident Evil 1 is down in my basement. And I really don't feel like going down there and digging out my PlayStation game, so we're going to pretend that this is the original 1996 or 1996 or 1998 version. So yeah, let's put on our imagination cap. Let's start off with the basics. What is different than this game, Resident Evil 1, versus Resident Evil 6? Besides, like, well, technically, you see, Resident Evil 6 is, if you really want to get in technical terms that I kind of like to do, it's really kind of like Resident Evil number 10 or 11. Because you really gotta factor in Code Veronica X, fucking Resident Evil Outbreak, Resident Evil Outbreak 2, Resident Evil Dead Aim, and yeah, so, but Resident Evil 6 basically is on the same storyline of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Resident Evil Dead Aim, Outbreak, they're kind of really like sub-stories if you really think about it. Alright, so most obvious difference about Resident Evil 6 versus the first one is this is online. Yes, you can fucking go on Xbox Live. Resident Evil has really always been a one-person type game. And then Resident Evil 5 came out and it was like, holy shitballs, you can actually play Resident Evil with two motherfuckers. Woo! That's actually pretty awesome. Technically, you could, you know, go on Resident Evil Outbreak and play with other individuals online, but you wanna know what? A lot of people really didn't play online because who the fuck played on like PlayStation 2 online and shit? Really no one. But yes, Resident Evil 6 is on Xbox Live. It is co-op. You can play with more than one people. Not to mention, you walk really different. You see, Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Nemesis, well, Resident Evil 1 and 2, and Nemesis has really always been, oh, fuck, Resident Evil 0. That's another one. So, even Resident Evil 0, you're in the third-person shooter. What that basically means is you're looking down at your character, pretty much. This Resident Evil, it's, you know, even with Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil 6, it's more so not really old school type Resident Evil where it's really more like, third-person shooter is more kind of like you're watching yourself from a video camera. That's a better explanation. So picture yourself on a security camera. You're basically watching an angle of yourself move. Resident Evil 1, you walk around a corner, sometimes you really couldn't see what was behind the fucking corner. And sometimes it would be a zombie that you would fucking die from. So, this Resident Evil, it's, you know, it's a little different. Not to mention Resident Evil 6 is a lot different than the first Resident Evil because it's more so kind of like a straightforward storyline. However, in Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 0, Code Veronica, it's a little different because where you start, you're probably most likely going to be coming back to that same location. You really never know. Alright, now basically my opinion. What one do I think is better? Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 6? You see, it's very funny because they're the same name, Resident Evil, and they have the same amount of, you know, basically same storyline and same shit as for zombies and stuff like that, but they're two totally different type of games. You got Resident Evil 1 as being somewhat of a hardcore mystery type fucking game. You know, I mean, there wasn't really like a lot of super high up duper weapons and shit like that. You had a pistol, you had a shotgun, depending if you were a female, you would get a grenade launcher. If you were a male, you would get a fucking, just a shotgun, and then later on you would find like a magnum and shit. But they're two totally really different type of games. Now if we were to compare Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, that would actually be a lot harder, because Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is a lot like the first one. But because these games are so much far apart from each other with a co-op and shit, it's really whatever you prefer. And me personally, I kind of prefer to play by myself in a dark room, kind of scaring the shit out of myself. So I would say Resident Evil 1 is better than Resident Evil 6. Even though Resident Evil 6, I have played it for about an hour and a half now, it's really good. A lot better than Resident Evil 4 and 5, I will say that. But it can be a lot better. But otherwise, yeah, let me know in some nasty, dirty little comments. What would you guys prefer? The old school Resident Evil or the new school Resident Evil? I will see you happy motherfuckers in a few days, and bye!